Texas Tech, Red Raiders, right? We're going to go down to Lubbock, Texas, right? We're going to check in on the Red Raiders, right? Kind of see what they've been up to, right? This is the point in the show where you should definitely subscribe, right? Because college football sports crew or college sports crew, we're diving into all campuses, right? So we're in Lubbock, Texas. Let's talk some Texas Tech. Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, all right? I actually went to their game. I went to that Orange Bowl game, right? First time actually seeing Texas Tech in person. I like their fans, I like their band, right? That game wasn't their best showing, all right? That game wasn't their best showing, especially for a team that is loaded with talent that you could say was bought, whatever. This is the year of college football, or this is the era of college football. This is what happens now, right? You buy rosters, right? So Texas Tech, I went to that last game in the Orange Bowl. I'll drop the comment for a game day vlog in here so you can check it out. Last season was a great year. I'm not even going to lie to you. It was nice to see Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, really come to life, really use that money wisely to get to at least create or develop a foundation and something that they want to build on, right? It was refreshing to see the Red Raiders, right? The tortilla Red Raider throwing fan base, right? This is a team, and I'm going to be fully honest, I haven't really been that invested or really seen them come to light since Graham Harrell threw that back shoulder fade to Michael Crabtree versus Texas, right? And that was years ago, right? True college football fans know and have watched that game. Epic. One of the greatest games we've seen, right? So it was good to see them, right, get back into relevancy, right? You think about Mike Leach has been there, Graham Harrell, Pat Mahomes before who he turned out to who he used to be, right? People forget Baker Mayfield went to Texas Tech, right? It's awesome to kind of see Texas Tech get back to relevance. Now, how do they handle going from hunting to being the hunted, right? Listen, I've talked about Georgia a lot on this show already. Way too much for my liking. But Kirby had a nice saying after winning a natty. It's like we're not being hunted. We're doing the hunting. Can Texas Tech adapt that mindset? Because that now you're no surprise. Now teams are going to prepare different for you. They're going to have different expectations for you. And this is what kind of have made like the Kirby Smarts, the Nick Sabans, the Urban Meyers really so good, because they were able to not only just win a natty, but take those expectations of winning and success and really rechannel, refocus, and really gear their team back to getting there and staying relevant. Georgia's still relevant today. God, I've talked too much about Georgia today. But you think about the expectations that's going to come with them. We'll dive into their schedule here as well too. But listen, they lose some guys. Right? They lose Jacob Rodriguez. They're going to lose David Bell to the draft and a couple other David Ball to the draft and all that defensive production and a couple other guys as well too. And speaking of the draft, this is Combine Week, right? They're going to lose those guys. So who are some key returners that they're going to have to rely on, right? Coy, I think his name is Coy Aiken, receiver, right? He's gonna have to step up. Now he has some production. He played in 13 games last year. He's gonna have to be really, really the leader of that receiving corps. Their strength, though, is going to be their three-headed monster at running back, because you're going to have Jacoby Williams, you're going to have Cameron Dickey, and you're going to have Quentin Joyner. All guys who played last year, now coming back, right? Coming back for another season, right? And listen, if this is the strength of that defense, so they're not going to have to rely on their new quarterback, Brandon Sorsby, right? This is a good start. But now how does that offensive line look, right? They've invested a lot in the portal on the offensive line, rightfully so, because you're going to have to be deep there, right? But it's going to be interesting to see how that all comes together. Now, you think about the defensive side. We already talked about J-Rod. We already talked about David Ball and the defensive production that they're going to lose. However, John Curry, right, Ben Roberts, those guys who played last year, especially at the linebacker core, are going to have to lead this defense, right? They're going to have to lead this defense and keep the momentum going, because this was a defensive-led team. Not to mention, when you think about guys that are coming in to replace defensive end David Ball, it's going to come from either JoJo Johnson or Mateen. I I'm really gonna mess this name up, but I'm gonna try. Bia Rugby. I'm gonna just call him Mateen. Let's stay there. So those guys are going to have to replace the production on the defensive line, which is going to be needed to get after opposing quarterbacks this year, because the way their schedule is set up, and we're going to dive into it, some early tests, but where it matters the most, they're going to be tested late by some games that are going to be a little personal, right? So, when you think about the defense, right, it's going to have to be led by Curry and Ben Roberts, but also JoJo Mateen coming in as well too. Now we get to the new shining toy, right, for Red Raider Nation, right? And I'm talking about your quarterback, all right, that's going to lead the charge, that's going to provide something that you've really been missing, right? And that's Brandon Sorsby, right? A Texas native, right? He got a bag, right? I think he got about $5 million. $5 million in that back pocket, and Texas is a no-tax state. Listen, he's doing just fine. Now he has to put it together, because if they're paying you that much, right? Obviously, Texas Tech believes in you, but if they're paying you that much, they're gonna want something back in return just naturally. That's just how life goes, right? So is Brandon Sorsby enough to kind of get this team over the hump, to kind of push it forward? Because I remember watching that game versus Oregon in the Orange Bowl, and listen, I'm not gonna get on the quarterback. It wasn't his best game, right? But what this team was lacking during the season is, one, a healthy starting quarterback, but two, mobility at the quarterback position. Right? We've already talked about where the strength of Texas Tech is going to be. When you think about Cameron Dickey, Jacoby Williams, Quentin Joyner, now you add Brandon Sorsby to the mix who can run too. Texas Tech offense could be lethal, right? It could be some dangerous work in the Big 12, right? It could live up to expectations. It could even be better than this team really blowing teams out by 21 or more throughout the season before the playoffs started. So I'm excited to see how Sorsby fits into that Texas Tech offense for sure going forward. Now, you think about, hold on. There's one guy they also got that I can't forget. A guy that's coming in from the transfer portal from Bama State. And I'm talking about Jalen Jones, right? Jalen Jones from Bama State had 51 receptions for about over 1,100 receiving yards last year and 9 touchdowns. But this is a guy that has speed and someone who's going to stretch the field, possibly take the top off. So in this air raid type of system, rest in peace, Mike Leach, in this air raid type of system, how are all these new components going to come in and really gel? I'll tell you what, they're not lacking that skill, receiver, running back, quarterback, but that offensive line is going to be the question offensively for Texas Tech, I personally think, going into the season, okay? Now, let's take a look at their schedule. So their schedule, they're going to be tested early, right? They're going to be tested early in those games, back-to-back games, Oregon State away, and then home versus Houston, right? And then you go to Sam Houston before you get in the Big 12 play. Now, where they're going to be tested the most, in my opinion, those last 5 games. Texas Tech does not have an easy schedule, right? Arizona, surprisingly good last year, should be better. West Virginia, Rich Rod, even though it's home, they should be better, right? Oklahoma State, right? Complete new turnaround, right? A lot of North Texas guys in there. They should be better. How much better? I don't know. Baylor's going to get personal. TCU's going to get personal. And it sucks for them because they had this towards the end of the season when really you want the hay to be in the barn at that point for your schedule, right? But if they're going to get into the playoffs, they're going to have to make it through a gauntlet. They're going to have to make it through a gauntlet of the schedule. Texas Tech fans, if you're in here, drop a comment. Let me know what you think, right? Let me know what you think, because storylines and questions I personally have for you guys in Red Raider Nation going into spring ball, going into the season is, what's the next step for you, and did you take it? Did you also learn from that performance and gain enough experience in that Orange Bowl to propel you guys to play at a different level going into this season? Not to mention, let's bring up the graphic. It's a quarterback league. Is Brandon Sorsby the guy? I think he is. I like him. I like him a lot. Is he the guy to take you to the promised land?